Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss and internet shitlords. And as you can see right here in the middle of everything, we got the Old School Companion 2. It is now a silver bestseller on Drivethru RPG and gaining. It's been doing some really great sales since my last video, so thank you to everyone who's picked it up. And if you haven't checked it out yet, do check it out. Check out my previous video before this one, and it'll show you all about it and what you can get in it. Okay, I'm not going to go repeating it now, but pick it up, check it out. Another little programming note. This Sunday we have at 7:30 Central, as usual, Inappropriate Characters, where I'm going to be with Avenger and Job as usual, and we will have a special guest, and we're going to talk about a variety of things, I'm sure. Today, though, what I want to talk about is something that I've seen that has been developing as a hashtag. You've seen I've done videos before where people have been talking about the TTRPG or the OSR community, right? That they want to redefine our hobby as a community. Well, they've kind of upped the ante now because they've been very pushing, the wokeists have been really pushing over these last couple of weeks. And at first I kind of didn't notice, and now I became aware of it over this past week and a half or so, and especially related to certain scandals that happened that accidentally drew my attention to this. But they've tried to make a major RPG hashtag on Twitter out of ttrpgfamily, right? And so it's like, oh, hey family, we're here to talk about tieflings or something like that, right? The family, right? The RPGs are a family. They're even more than just a community. They are the substitute for what used to pass as family, right? They're a replacement to the ancient social bonds that human beings have had for 2 million years and are now something else, right? Now, not everybody has great families, right? But I mean, as a system, societally, they're the things that has worked, right? That is the unit that has proven true in almost every culture. I mean, in every culture. There's no culture where it doesn't have, in some cases it's more extended, in some cases it's more nuclear. Sometimes the structures are a little different. Some cultures are polygamous, most are not, but, there's a variety of things. But the family as a unit has been a central and essential unit of human society since the dawn of civilization and probably well before. But there's been this modern movement of saying, well, no, screw the family, right? Because they want, what wokeists want more than anything, being Maoists, is a year zero. They want to erase all history. They want to erase all of the past. They want to erase all ties that you have to anything other than the movement, anything other than the party, right? Anything other than the bond to their ideological agenda. And one of the things that is most central in that, there was religion, but they've pretty much killed that. So the other thing is family, the family unit, even more significant than religion, I am going to say, because as much as people value their religion in the abstract, they value their kids or their parents or their brother and sister in the concrete, right? Now, again, some people might have horrible families. That could happen. But that doesn't matter because the agenda here has to do with how they're going to go after the concept of the family as a whole, right? And I don't want to give the impression that, this hashtag is something that means that me not thinking this is a good hashtag means that I'm against the concept of found family or something like that, right? Especially if you have a shitty family and you've made your own group of people that are not biologically related to you or related to you from upbringing, but that are the people that are the closest to you. That's okay. That's good. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But those are people in real life, right? One thing that is definitely not a family is a bunch of mostly psychotic Twitter people posting memes about tieflings, right? or talking about social justice. That is not family. That's an indoctrination system. Right? That is not family. That's mental illness. That is not family. That isn't anything resembling that, right? And in fact, the D&D hobby is not your family, right? Like if you think, you're going to go to the local gaming store. I know those don't exist anymore, but let's say, right, that you went to a local gaming store and you felt like the employees there are your family. No, they're just employees there. They're trying to sell you books, right? Now, your gaming group is not your family. Now, some of them might become very good friends. Maybe some of them were friends before you started gaming, right? And maybe some of them reach that point of such a close friendship that they're equivalent to family to you, right? That kind of found family concept. Some of them, specific people, right? I have specific people in my life that I'm not related to by blood, but that I would see absolutely as family. You know, there are people, and not people, you know, that I'm romantic with, but rather, you know, people that are close in other ways, right? That I would do anything for them that I would do for, you know, my brother or my sister or my parents, right? And maybe more, because there's a bigger bond of common friendship there, right? Fraternal love, let's call it. And you know, and then also there's the concept of a type of family found in fraternity, right, or sorority, you know, in either case, right, with certain specifically oriented groups meant to create special social bonds. Those are different from the family. They've also existed for tens of thousands of years, these sorts of special groups, right? Today we have fraternities and sororities and maybe some secret societies. We don't have a lot of them anymore because a lot of these things have been wiped out by the process first of modernism and then communism and postmodernism. And that's a pity because it means people are now socially isolated, right? Like there's a loss in that. There's a tendency that you don't have groups that help you organize how to be an adult, right? So you either just have your group of friends from high school or college, or you just have your significant other and your dogs because you're not reproducing either, right? And so you're just living as a superannuated child, right? And then but there are groups, right, that you might be a part of, and I can understand that type of fraternal tie as well, right? I'm a member of a group. That means that I have about 2 million people that I would call a brother, you know? And I am oath bound to help those brothers in certain ways, right? And that's great. And I love the fact that I can go anywhere in the world and meet a bunch of people that will, by default, even having never met me before, treat me as though they are my brother, right? But it's, you know, it's a different thing than actually having a brother, right? A biological brother by blood, a brother by family, right? Or even by found family. So none of those things are exactly the same thing, right, as family. And the hobby, having hobbies is not a substitute for family. Having hobbies is a very important thing to do, right? Because when I'm talking about, for example, I mentioned a little bit earlier, the failure to be an adult, right? I don't mean being serious all the time. That is, in fact, the opposite of an adult, right? As I think it was C.S. Lewis who said, when you become an adult, you put aside childish things, including being in a hurry to grow up and being worried about looking childish, right? That's not what we're talking about here. Right? And so hobbies, pastimes, whether they're, you know, I don't know, model trains or comic book collecting or D&D, right, are excellent things to engage in. I am all for them. Obviously, it's part of my career and it's one of the things I love about my life, right? But again, these are a different thing than having a family, and especially a hobby is something where you don't necessarily have to be even friends with the other people you're meeting to have hobby with. You have to be cordial. You have to be good acquaintances, right? You have to behave yourself because they're all, you know, unless you're doing a hobby that you do by yourself, which is sad, right? But almost every hobby involves interacting in some ways, some more than others. RPGs more than most because you have to be in a group and that group of people have to get along. But you don't necessarily even have to be like friends outside of meeting once every 2 weeks for gaming, right? There are people in my gaming groups that I never socialize with except in the gaming groups. And I'm very nice to them. They're very nice to me. We like each other's jokes. We talk about all kinds of things before and after the game, but we don't, you know, have a social life outside of that. And so fandom, which is what they're dealing with, you know, in this case, it's the TTRPG family, which is to say, they're trying to turn this hobby and the fans of this hobby into this concept of family. But they're doing the same thing with comic books. They're doing the same thing with you know, video games and movies and TV and superheroes and Doctor Who and everything else. This is so that they can then impose this artificial replacement concept of an emotional tie, right? Because a threat to the, if they get to say now, well, this person is a threat to the TTRPG family, and also the TTRPG family has moms and dads, right? It has authority figures that you have to listen to, right? This whole concept is screwed up. And what's more, TTRPG families have dirty secrets, and that was already kind of uncovered recently when there was a couple of people apparently that are connected to some kind of a podcast. I don't know all the details. It wasn't Critical Role people, but it's something along those lines. And they were accused of serial sexual harassment, let's say. And again, that's an accusation. It's alleged. I haven't looked into it enough in any way to be able to judge whether it was real or not. But a lot of people apparently jumped in the bandwagon of these accusations, like this kind of, I don't know, Weinstein sort of thing where a whole bunch of people came forward all at once. And, this was somebody who was very highly respected in the kind of TTRPG family community, right? And that everybody was afraid of exposing. And so that's also a problem when you have, when the TTRPG family is considered a family, is that it's a dysfunctional family. It's run by psychopaths. And then it's also going to be having people that are going to behave very badly that will be protected by those psychopaths. And then it'll have other people who might not behave badly, but will be drummed out by those psychopaths, right? So the whole reason for creating this concept is to make D&D into more than a hobby, but rather not even just a lifestyle now, but the very core of your being, right? Like it's a part, your family is a part of you. And so if they're in control of that, they're in control of you, right? So this is the mentality that you see in these people and the things that they're doing. It's also why they're so threatened, by the ongoing success of the OSR, which very much treats RPGs as a hobby, because that's what they are, right? But at the same time, produces a lot of great stuff and has been very open, very transparent, very welcoming of everybody who is there to game and to produce stuff, right? And it doesn't, and as we've recently proven in the case with Dolly Pop and Taylor Lane, it doesn't matter, race, gender, sexuality, orientation, gender identity, none of those things matter in the OSR. And that's terrifying to these people. So I think that there's a tie between this idea of trying to go, as they did previously by trying to claim that it's a community, a D&D community. Now they want an RPG family, right, is a way to try to centralize control. The OSR is decentralized. I'm not the king of the OSR or the pope of the OSR, and nobody else is either, right? There's nobody who gets to control what the OSR does. There's some of us that get to say, well, half Avengers books aren't OSR products, but that's about it, I can't throw him out, I even have to have him on one of my shows, apparently. So, that's just how it goes in the OSR. Right, it's not a thing where you can just suddenly brigade someone and drive them away from the OSR because there's no centralized hierarchy, and that's scary to them, and it's scary to them now that they're getting other people who aren't, because they had been very, very good at trying to claim that the OSR is a club for straight cis white males, to use their terminology, right, and that only those people would ever be welcome in that hobby. In that section in the OSR, and that if you tried to go there and you weren't one of those things, you would just be brutally harassed and attacked and whatever, right? And apparently a lot of people believed it. Taylor Lane believed it until they tried differently, and they discovered that it was actually not like that at all. That we are the purest meritocracy in the RPG world. So this is something that is very different. This is another difference between the OSR and the kind of wokest movement towards this RPG family hashtag, which is that in an RPG family, you don't need to be actually making RPGs to be important in the family, right? What's important is how much you care about the family, how much you talk about the family on Twitter, right? Whereas in the OSR, the people that are important are the people that are making RPGs, RPG supplements, and then, second tier to that, people who are doing a lot of RPG social media like YouTube channels and things like that, right? But that's how, the hierarchy is a meritocracy. It's what you're producing. It's not getting to claim a space and, talk about diversity and then condemn other people and never produce anything related to RPGs, right? A person who tweets a lot but produces nothing related to RPGs will have zero influence in the OSR. A person who produces a lot, can tweet or not, they will have a lot of influence, right? I don't even know if Kevin Crawford has a Twitter account, right? Or I don't think he has a YouTube account, right? But he's super influential because he makes incredible OSR games, right? Case in point. And I've got Twitter, YouTube, and my games, and that makes me influential, So this is another part of what they're trying to transform by switching from hobby to family. In a hobby, it's about the things you're doing, right? In a family, it's about, who's the mom, right? That's what they want to do. This feminization towards this maternal control of somebody watching over what you say and don't say, right? And stuff like that. So, we're a threat to them. They're not a threat to us, really, but it's something to look at and kind of mock, right? And kind of feel sorry about, right? Because the people that go out of their way to use this hashtag are people that do not have a family. They don't have a found family, right? They don't have close friendships, right? Like fraternal bonds of friendship that are not, related to sex or to dating. They don't have fraternal society around them, right? They have none of those things because otherwise they wouldn't be looking at online RPG commentariat on Twitter and thinking, this is my family, right? That's just sad. It's really sad. All right, I guess I've said all I've got to say about that topic, but, tell me what you think in the comments. Share the video if you find the video interesting, and anywhere that you think people will find it interesting or hate this video, feel free to go right ahead and share it. And subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Check out my various playlists. Hit the like button. And mainly, if you want to support me, I've got a Patreon there. It's really funny. I had some idiot, again, point out my Patreon. Oh, you've only got 10 patrons. See, the RPG Pundit has no influence whatsoever. But every single video, those of you who watch know, every single video I say, look, if you want to just throw money at me, there's my Patreon, right? And maybe you've bought every single book of mine. Go ahead, put money in my Patreon. I'm very happy. I'm very grateful to all 10 of my Patreon patrons. But before you do that, if you haven't already looked at my books, look at my books. Buy my books. They're really good RPG products, right? The Old School Companion is getting rave reviews. Sorry, the Old School Companion 2, Medieval Authentic Adventures, is getting rave reviews. So did the Old School Companion 1. So did World of the Last Sun and Invisible College and Lion and Dragon and Dark Albion and Star Adventure and all my other games and all my other game products. And even if you only have a few bucks, check out the PDF series of RPG Pundit Presents. There's 106 issues there. You're going to find some kind of little mini article or adventure or supplement that you'll be able to use in your actual gamer. If you're an actual gamer, the only reason to donate to me on Patreon is if either you're not a gamer at all, but you still support me. I don't know, you like the cut of my jib or something like that, or if you're a gamer but you've already bought every single RPG Pundit product that you are actually interested in having, right? But if not, check out my books, check out my PDFs. You're gonna find something you like in them. They're wildly varied, and they're all great OSR material. So check us out on Sunday, Inappropriate Character, 7:30, and I guess that's everything for today. Currently smoking Lorenzetti Horn plus Argento Natural.